Something seems to be an issue. Give me just a minute. I will stop screen sharing. Is it visible now? Jai Shriman Narayan Pailam Munarji. I hope the screen is visible. So let us begin. श्रीवत्सवंश कलशोदधिकौस्तुभस्य श्रीवासराघव गुरोस्तनयं ततश्च विद्या अवाप्य विबुधोत्तमतां दधानं पूर्वे सदा हृदि गुरुं करुणाकराख्यं रामानुजदयापात्रं ज्ञानवैराग्यभूषणं श्रीमद्वेङ्कटनाथार्यं वन्दे वेदान्तदेशिकं लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये मातापिता युवतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानाम् आद्यस्य नः कुलपतेर्बकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रियुगलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वय भट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसार कुलशेखर योगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणु परकाल यतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम्. We were looking at some of the criticisms of Vishishtadvaita. We saw about the different ways in which a school of philosophy could be criticized, especially one that falls under the bhakti movement, as they call it. Ideally, the Vedas themselves talk about bhakti, that is devotion. Vedas talk about bhakti. Vedas talk about sharanagati. It is not as though devotion was a concept that was created 1,000 years ago. Devotion as a concept has been there since forever. And it has been there across the world. Devotion as a concept has been there across the world in many different faiths. It is not unique to India alone. Maybe we could say the earliest records could be found with us. That is possible. Now, we said there are 4 types. One is metaphysical. Because when you say Vishishtadvaita, what is that Vishishtadvaita? I understand Dvaita, I understand Advaita. You are in between the two. What does that even mean? How do we understand it? That is one. The second is with respect to interpretation of statements. So, if the Veda says Aham Brahmasmi, see, it is Advaita. In the Brahma Sutras, there is a sutra, Adhikam tu Bheda Nirdeshat, because the Vedas have given very clear statements that there is a difference between jivatma and Paramatma. The Paramatma is superior to the jivatma. This is a Vedanta sutra, accepted by all as authentic sutra. But if we are to go by this sutra, Dvaita will be correct. Bheda means difference. Abheda means non-difference. So, how do we then interpret it? It's a very important question. See, even inside the Purusha Sukta, if you get a statement such as Yo Devanam Purohitaha, Devanam is a plural word. Yaha, he who. So that one being, that one Purusha, the Supreme Purusha, who is being referred to, he is being referred to in a statement along with the Devas, with a word Devanam, of the Devas. The word devas is plural. When you say he who, right? Yah. That is singular. So, when you look at the statement, you would understand it as, okay, this person is differentiated from the other devas. Therefore, even the Purusha Sukta could be used to establish duality. Is that so? Then how would the Advaiti interpret it? The Advaiti has his own system of interpretation by which even the Bheda Vakyas are interpreted without hampering his school of philosophy. In the same way, Vishishtadvaita also has its own hermeneutical framework. If this is understood, you will understand Vishishtadvaita. If you do not understand, you will think, what nonsense is this? What nonsense is this? Yo Devanam Purohitaha has been said, therefore Advaita cancel. What nonsense is this? Aham Brahmasmi has been said, therefore Dvaita is cancelled. You cannot do that. The way in which the passages are interpreted matters a lot. Moreover, treating specific statements of the Vedas as Mahavakyas is a practice within the Advaita school of Vedanta. Whatever the Advaita school calls as Mahavakya, saying specific statements are Mahavakyas, such a system of calling those specific statements alone as Mahavakyas does not exist in the Advaita school. You are calling it Mahavakya. Has the Veda called these verses as Mahavakya? No. Who has called it Mahavakya? Has Rama called it? Krishna called it? Ramayana doesn't call it Mahavakya. Mahabharata doesn't call it Mahavakya. Purana doesn't call it Mahavakya. Then where are we getting it from? So, whatever has been called as Mahavakya by Shankara Bhagavad Pada, we should understand his intent. Intent was that these are the statements that teach about Nirgunatva. Nirgunatva is the highest reality as per Advaita. Therefore, a statement that teaches the highest reality, how would you treat it? You would treat it as the highest statement, the greatest statement. Therefore, you got the term Mahavakya. This is very important. So, it is not called Mahavakya for any other reason. It is called as Mahavakya because, as per the school of Advaita, it is directly explaining Advaita, which the other statements do not seem to do. But when we say directly, how does it work? You know, there is a famous shloka, Adau Bheda Shrutinam Anruta Vishayata Lakshana Chaikya Vacha. Whatever is there in Bheda Shruti, that is passages of the Veda that appear to talk about Bheda, the difference between the jivatma and Paramatma. For the Advaita school, that has to be called as the under the realm of illusion. It is because of this illusion, Maya, that you feel all of this difference. So wherever the Veda says these two are different, they will say within the realm of illusion, these two are different. In reality, they are not different. Okay, what about the passages that say about oneness, like Aham Brahmasmi? Well, what is the meaning of Aham? I. What is the meaning of Brahma? That supreme Brahman referred to in the Vedas. I am only that Brahman. Correct? No. As per Advaita, I do not exist. That supreme Brahman does not exist. Only one entity exists. That one entity is Brahman. That's all. There is no I, you, we, he, she, it in Advaita. All of them are because of illusion. So, when you understand that all of this is because of illusion, you would understand that Aham Brahmasmi does not translate to I am Brahman in Advaita. That is a layman translation. For the sake of simplicity, for teaching beginners, they will translate that way. Technically, inside Advaita, it should be translated as the perception of there being I, myself. When I say I am referring to who? I am referring to Veeraraghavacharya. Some jivatma that is denoted by the name Veeraraghavacharya, that is inside such and such a body, human body, male body of so many years. That is a perception, no? That is not the absolute reality. So this perception is actually of what? I am perceiving Veeraraghavacharya, but this Veeraraghavacharya does not really exist as Veeraraghavacharya. The only existent entity is Brahman. Therefore, the only perceivable entity is also Brahman. You can understand only what exists, no? Whatever does not even exist, what will you understand about it? Only Brahman exists. Therefore, you can understand or misunderstand only that Brahman. Therefore, whoever I am assuming to be Veeraraghavacharya is actually who? It is none other than Brahman. We are talking about Advaita right now, and for a very valid reason. So, if I am talking about Veeraraghava, and that is in reality talking about Brahman, what does it mean? It means I perceived only Brahman because Veeraraghava does not exist. Only Brahman exists. Veeraraghava Dasa does not exist. Who exists? Only Brahman exists. So Brahman is being perceived, but Brahman is being perceived as Veeraraghava. Brahman is being perceived as somebody else, that way. So the perception of Veeraraghava, that is myself, is actually the perception of Brahman. This is the real meaning of Aham Brahmasmi as per Advaita. It goes to that depth. But in going to this depth, what does Advaita do? It implies that these words are used metaphorically. When I say I, you, my, your, and so on, these words cannot be used literally, because in the supreme reality, which is called Paramartha, there is no such thing as I-you differentiation. There is no such thing as my or your. Only Brahman is there, nothing else is there. So, even for statements, the Mahavakyas that talk about oneness of the Jivatma and Paramatma, you are unable to give a literal translation. It is an issue. You are going to great depths to explain the statement, to explain that oneness. The oneness implied by the word Asmi in Aham Brahmasmi. To prove that, you are using a metaphorical explanation of these words. In Vishishtadvaita, they followed a simpler approach. What was that? They said, let it be real. Why to call it unreal? If I call it unreal only, I will have to get into perception of this, perception of that. I will not accept it as unreal. Let it be real and a temporary thing. What do you mean by temporary? Is jivatma temporary? Does it automatically become Paramatma? No. But the swabhava, right? There are two things, swarupa, swabhava. The swabhava of the jivatma is subject to change. The swarupa of the atma does not change, be it jivatma or paramatma. The original essence of what constitutes the atma can never change. Bhagavan can by his will, change the form in which he appears. But Bhagavan will remain Bhagavan. He can hide all of his abilities. Still, Bhagavan will remain Bhagavan. No matter what he does, Bhagavan will remain Bhagavan. This is a fact. So, it is very important for us to understand hermeneutics. But this is a scholarly topic, not for the beginner. When the beginner comes, they will read here and there, they will misunderstand. We have seen a lot of that. A large number of English translations make mistakes here and there and everywhere. Why? If anybody and everybody decides to translate without having a prior scholarly background in the field, you would naturally have a compromise on the quality. This has to be understood. Next, the soteriological one. We already discussed this. We discussed this in the previous lecture. We also discussed it in greater detail in the past, wherein we talked about how, in spite of being at the level of servant, saying, I am a servant of Bhagavan, I am performing seva to Bhagavan, how could that be the supreme state? How could you ever be the supreme when you are the servant? That question is itself wrong, because it is asked with the understanding of how servants behave or are treated or feel in this world, where everything is imperfect. We have discussed it in much greater detail before. Therefore, we will not go any further. Devotional. Now, there are a lot of questions, especially modern people. They ask, why should we believe in Narayana? Why can't I say anybody and everybody? Some atheist will come and say, why can't I believe that this spaghetti monster is God? What is that? Pastafarianism, something, some religion, fake religion the atheists created abroad just to make fun of theists. Saying, look, this is my flying spaghetti monster and this is what I worship as God. Just to make fun of the theists. So, if you can worship Narayana, I can worship noodles. Who is stopping me? Why should I worship Narayana? Secondly, you are saying worship Narayana alone. Why should I worship Narayana alone? Why can't I worship Shiva? Why can't I worship somebody else? Why can't I worship Brahma? Why can't I worship Indra? Why can't I worship Kubera? I want money. I want to worship Kubera. Do you know, if you build a temple for Kubera today, you will reach the level of Kubera in 3-4 years. That many people will be willing to come to the temple. Everybody wants money. The world is driven by money today, not by philosophy. So, how do you handle these things? These are fair questions. We cannot blame the question. The question by itself is fair, but they need to be answered as well. So we looked at how Vishishtadvaita answers these kinds of questions. In the previous lecture, we saw how indeed Narayana-centered worship, if you call it as sectarian, let it be called sectarian. There is no doubt about it. But anything and everything that is sectarian need not necessarily be wrong. If I were to say there is a Hiranyakashipu-centered bhakti, you can call it wrong. If I say there is Narayana-centered bhakti, how can you call it wrong? We have seen these kinds of things about Archa worship, about the worship of Vigrahas in temples also. We had a discussion in the previous lecture. Then we talked about Chit, Achit and Ishvara. The three fundamental entities, types of entities. Chit referring to jivatma, infinite jivatman exists. Achit referring to jada, non-living, infinite of them exist, of infinite types. Paramatma, Brahman, Parabrahman, Sriman Narayana, only one. That Sriman Narayana has as his Sharira Chit and Achit. Then we went on to see how calling it qualified non-dualism does not really sound self-contradictory. So there are books, for example, in which when they start the discussion of Vishishtadvaita, they immediately point out, how can you call yourself qualified non-duality? Non-duality itself means there is no quality. How can you then add a quality to something that is non-dual? We say, no, it has to do with interpretation of statements. See, when you say ekameva advitiyam, advitiyam means unique. It does not mean there is no second being. So the passages that you are using to imply non-duality, that non-duality is explained by us in a different way. There is only one at that level. You are saying there is only one. We are saying there is only one at that level. Therefore, we are qualifying the non-duality. This is the difference that we are making. Let us move on to the second one. The second criticism. This is something we haven't discussed in the previous lecture. So, let us say Brahman has qualities. But whatever you understand to be quality is understood through items that are not Brahman. Think about it. Which qualities can you think of? Any kind of quality. Color, size, shape, ability. No matter what you imagine. You can imagine things only based on what you can observe in the universe. You cannot imagine something that is not observable in the universe. Brahman created the universe. Can you actually visualize the way in which he created the universe? I cannot. I can imagine maybe one tiny dot expanding into a very, very large white circle, or a tiny balloon being expanded. All of those things I can imagine. But the exact way in which Bhagavan created, how can I imagine that? I have never observed it. Either you should have observed or you should have extremely detailed explanation, which is still relatable to something so that you are able to imagine. You know, there is a joke I saw on Instagram. That joke said, you should actually believe in unicorn. Unicorn is not so bad. People say they have never seen a unicorn, but think about it. You have a horse. You give a horn to a horse. There are animals with horns, no? So you can imagine a horse with a horn. There are birds. They have wings. You can imagine a horse that has one horn and two wings. That is easy. But look at the giraffe. Look at the giraffe. The giraffe actually exists. But although the giraffe actually exists, what is the giraffe? What does it really look like? Partly it looks like leopard. You look at its skin, the way its skin looks, it will be like a leopard. You look at the rest of the body, or rather the body itself, the shape and the face, you will realize that it is partly camel and partly moose. So what is a giraffe? Giraffe is a mixture of leopard, moose and camel. That too with a very, very long neck, unimaginably long neck. Now that must be very difficult for you to visualize. How are you able to say unicorns are fake but giraffes are real? Hmm? Definitely, it is the giraffe that looks unreal. But giraffe exists. Unicorn does not exist. This is reality. What are we trying to understand from this example? We are trying to understand that whatever we find relatable or easy to accept is simply based on whatever we are used to. Things that we are not used to, things that we are not able to relate to, we cannot accept quickly. This is a limitation of the human mind. It is a limitation of the human mind and not necessarily a justification of whatever that mind believes. I can believe in whatever I want, but I am believing that way because that is the way my mind works. It does not mean that whatever I believe is always correct. We should understand this. So now coming back, this criticism, if Brahman has qualities, you are saying that the word nirguna also means saguna. That is the interpretation in Vishishtadvaita. Nirguna means gunatita, beyond the three gunas, because he is Shuddha Sattva. That is also guna. Shuddha Sattva is a guna at the end of the day. Therefore, Brahman is Savishishta, Saguna. So, if Brahman has qualities, what kinds of gunas can you think about? Whatever guna he would have, somewhere or the other in the universe, you would have observed that guna. Think about it. If you say Brahman has compassion, how do you understand compassion? You understand compassion truly only when you feel it. When do you feel compassion? When you yourself are showing compassion, or when somebody else is showing compassion. That is when you feel it. If a person compassionately talks to me, even though I have been rude and have harmed that person, I can feel that compassion. Oh, he is so compassionate. Or I myself would be compassionate, and therefore I can feel it. This is how it works. So, no matter what quality you talk about, if Brahman has a quality, other entities also have qualities. Is Brahman the only entity with compassion? You say he has the ability to take birth again and again. Sambhavami yuge yuge. We also appear in every yuga. Is Brahman the only being who is appearing in every yuga? We also come, no? We also keep taking birth. Brahman comes paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkuratam. We take birth because we are the dushkritas. That is the only difference. So in this way, no matter which quality of Brahman is listed, Parabrahman is listed, it is possible to say, Brahman is just one qualified object among other objects. So there are so many objects, so many entities. So any guna of Brahman that you point out would also exist in some other entity. How do you then differentiate that Brahman? By calling it Saguna, you have made it similar to everything else. If you had left it as Aguna, void of gunas, it would have been clearly differentiated from everything else. There is Atma and there is Anatma. As per Advaita, everything other than Atma is Anatma. Well, that is the Sanskrit meaning itself. Everything that is not Atma is Anatma. Therefore, when Advaita says Atma exists, it means only Atma exists. Anatma is a perception of existence that would get destroyed once the reality that only the Atma is there, Atma alone is real, this reality is realized. But in Vishishtadvaita, you are saying Paramatma also has qualities, jivatma also has qualities. Sometimes we are also able to see jada with qualities. How are we going to handle this? It's a big question. The answer is very simple. The others, be it jivatma or be it jada, you say Bhagavan is attractive, I will say diamond is attractive, gold is attractive. Then you will say, no, but Bhagavan is sentient and still attractive. I will say, okay, you want sentience. No, look at that girl, she is so attractive. But there is a differentiation. What is this differentiation? Sometime before the time of Bhagavad Ramanuja, a small boy ended up becoming a prince. We have seen this story before. It is the story of Alavandar, who is also called Yamunacharya. If you remember it, well and good, please recollect. So this Yamunacharya, as a shishya, as a small boy, he went to the court. He debated with the Asthana Vidwan, Akiyalvan, and defeated the Asthana Vidwan. It's a well-recorded story, which has unfortunately been hijacked by many other fiction writers. Sometimes, when talking about Hinduism also, they would show these questions asked by, or rather the conversation had by Yamunacharya as a conversation had by somebody else. I remember watching in a Malayalam TV serial, Lord Ayyappan, as a child, asking these questions to the scholars present there. However, no authentic record of Ayyappan says that such and such a debate happened. The only available historical records which talk about the conversation or the three questions asked by Yamunacharya are the ones that talk about Yamunacharya himself. Now, let us not get into those three questions. They are not relevant to us. But by asking those three questions, which the Asthana Vidwan, the court's established scholar, could not answer, and by answering them himself, he proved his scholarliness and became a prince. The queen, who was pleased but did not have a child, adopted him. He became a prince. He grew up. Growing up as a prince, he forgot about Paramatma. Eventually, one of his guru's disciples came to him and ensured that he is brought back to the fold. What did he do? Recollect. He took him to Sri Rangam. He said, there is great wealth. Where is the great wealth? Where is the treasure? There is a very great treasure trove. I want you to see it. Where is it? Where is it? Great treasure, great treasure. The king is running. He wants to see the great treasure. But the treasure that is shown is Bhagavan. In the temple of Sri Rangam, Lord Ranganatha, his Vigraha is shown. And Bhagavan, in that Archa Rupa, he is called as the greatest treasure. At that time, Yamunacharya realizes, yes, indeed, he is the greatest treasure. He is the most rich. He is the best of the best. In front of him, thousands of crores of gold coins are useless. Therefore, you should understand that he is the best of the best of the best, very perfect, infinite magnitude. So, when you talk about his attractiveness, for example, Bhagavan is infinitely attractive. I don't find him infinitely attractive. He is okay. If I think so, it means I am unable to understand his attractiveness properly due to my own past karma. Therefore, every single guna that we talk about in the case of Bhagavan, every single quality that we talk about in the context of Bhagavan, the qualities possessed by Bhagavan, each one of those qualities is an auspicious quality. It is a divine quality, and that quality he possesses to the fullest extent, infinite extent. You cannot have it at infinity. You might be beautiful, but you wouldn't be the most beautiful. Plus, your beauty would not last forever. Bhagavan is also attractive, infinitely attractive, eternally attractive. You cannot compete with him. So, this is, sorry. Narayana. This is the nature of Bhagavan. Therefore, whatever qualities we have or others have, they have limitations. They have dependencies. In the case of Bhagavan, there is no imperfection. There is no dependence. His 6 divine qualities, Jnana, Bala, Aishwarya, Virya, Shakti, Tejas, along with the other qualities that he shows, right? Karuna, Sarveshwaratvam. None of these qualities is a defect. They actually show that he is better than everybody else. Therefore, he is well differentiated, and at the same time, he is kept at the top. Therefore, in Vishishtadvaita, when you say Bhagavan is Nirguna, we say, okay, we accept he is Nirguna, but Nirguna does not mean he has no quality. Nirguna means he does not have any bad quality. Further, we point out, for example, in the Sri Bhashya, as well as in texts like Shatadoshani, this question is presented. If you have a Brahman who is void of any quality, then isn't it empty? You are saying Brahman has no quality. Okay. Can you imagine anything that has no quality? No. Okay. How can you say that something that has no quality is the best? Very difficult. You cannot logically establish. Okay. Why should you say that it is that way? Oh, Vedas are interpreting. No, we can interpret the Vedas in a different way also. Veda, there is no rule that Veda has to be interpreted as per the rules of Advaita. So, it is possible to interpret the Vedic passages in such a way that Parabrahman is not empty. Finally, if If there is a supreme being who is empty, who has no quality, who does nothing, why should I ever aim to become that kind of a being? Why do I have to enter a state where I do nothing, hear nothing, see nothing, think nothing? These kinds of questions can be posed. Therefore, there is no problem with having attributes for Bhagavan. If Brahman has qualities, that is not a problem. The qualities of Brahman that we are talking about are auspicious qualities, each one of infinite magnitude. The next one. There is this Sharira Shariri Bhava. We have discussed this countless times in our lectures, explaining how the word Sharira is not just a body. It is not like a physical body. It should be understood in a different way. One question that is asked is, see, the Vedas declare that Brahman does not change. Brahman by definition does not change. He is avyaya. So, if the entire universe you are calling as his body, you know that the universe is changing. Creation, preservation, destruction. Creation, preservation, destruction. The universe keeps changing. So, if the body of Brahman keeps changing, it means Brahman himself is changing. But Brahman cannot change. The Veda says very clearly Brahman does not change. In fact, Brahman is the only entity that does not change. The Parabrahman, who can never ever change, how can you say that he is changing? In Vishishtadvaita, we answer it by saying, look, Parabrahman is not defined as Prakriti. Parabrahman is not defined as jivatma. Parabrahman is defined as a separate entity. Chit is different, Achit is different, Parabrahman is different. Everything that exists in Chit and Achit counts as his Sharira. But Bhagavan is not the Sharira. Bhagavan is the Shariri. Just like how in Advaita also you accept that I am the Atma and not the body. In the same way, Paramatma is the Atma and not the body of Paramatma. So, as the Atma, he remains the inner controller. Just like how my body grows from childhood, it grows. In the same way, your universe also grew. At all points of time, it was controlled by my jivatma. In the same way, at all points of time, eternally, chit and achit, all of that, they form his body. Right? So, at all points of time, they are under his control. He is not dependent, he is not changing, but his Sharira is dependent on him and his Sharira undergoes change. Here is the next one. This doctrine saying the entire world is his body, everything is his body, everything is his Sharira, everything other than him. You said Chit and Achit. Everything other than Paramatma will be either Chit or Achit, that's all. That means everything other than Paramatma is Paramatma's Sharira. So in the Purva Paksha, they ask, if everything other than the Paramatma is Paramatma's Sharira, then it means everything is Paramatma only. Think about it. He is there inside this computer. He is there inside my body. He is there inside the chair. He is there inside the table. He is there inside the ceiling fan. He is there inside the fridge. He is there inside the dustbin. He is inside the waste inside the dustbin as well. So, can I start worshipping the table in front of me? Can I start worshipping the chair in front of me? Bhagavan is here, no? This chair is a body of Bhagavan. Therefore, let me start worshipping. Who is stopping me? Why are you saying, no, no, go to a temple, go to his Vigraha, go and pray to him there? I will pray to the chair in front of me. I will pray to the table in front of me. I will pray to the fridge in front of me. I will pray to the dustbin in front of me. Inside that also Bhagavan is there. No, dustbin is Bhagavan Sharira. This is the Purva Paksha. The opposition side, that is criticizing Vishishtadvaita. An answer is given to this. It says, look, we did not use the word Sharira in the context of physical body. We used it the way Veda has used. So Veda has used Sharira in a very specific way. Yasya chetanasya yadravyam sarvatmana swarthe niyantum dharayitum. That way is what we are looking at. This is the way in which the Vedas have explained the word Sharira, as explained by Bhagavad Ramanuja. Therefore, being his Sharira does not mean being his physical body. Being his Sharira means it is in all ways controllable by him. It is dependent on him. He is the one who is bearing it. Without him, it will not exist. Without his will, it will not exist. Its very existence adds to his glory because he is the one because of whom this exists. This is the real meaning of the word Sharira. Therefore, Sharira of Bhagavan is different from Shariri, which is Bhagavan himself. Bhagavan exists everywhere. Antar Bahishcha Tat Sarvam. Inside and outside of everything he is there. But that does not mean that everything is Bhagavan. Because he is superior to everything. He is inside of everything, but he is not everything. He is superior to everything. This is why you can see in the third point written in the slide, yet God transcends all. It is very important for us to understand. Also, we are imperfect. It is true that Bhagavan is there inside the chair, Bhagavan is there inside the table, Bhagavan is there inside the bookshelf, but we cannot realize his presence there, no? As beings who cannot realize his presence inside the chair, would it be fine for us to worship the chair? It wouldn't be. Therefore, if you are going to worship Bhagavan through something, that something should invoke thoughts of Bhagavan. That is the idea behind Archa Vigraha, where Archa is Bhagavan himself. Therefore, when you look at the Archa Vigraha, you remember Bhagavan himself. This is very important. So I don't have to say chair is Paramatma, table is Paramatma. I will say chair is Sharira of Paramatma, table is Sharira of Paramatma. I am also a Sharira of Paramatma. That Paramatma is supreme. Sharire tava pashyami jagat sarvam idam prabho, as Kashyapa said in Ramayana. Inside your Sharira, I see the entire Jagat, all the universe, everything of the known universe, unknown universe, everything is there in Bhagavan's Sharira. And he is superior to all of that. One last point we will see today. They say, see, why are we bound? We all start with the statement, we are bound and we need liberation. Correct? Why are there so many differences when we can be united, when we can be one? Difference of opinion is leading to fight, war, disagreement, everything negative. Plurality by nature causes problems. Oneness is the solution to the problems. So, when oneness is the solution to all problems, why not just accept what Advaita has already said? Why do you want to be a different school of philosophy? This is the question. This question is answered by Vishishtadvaita. See, you are talking about avidya, that is ignorance. Does ignorance really exist? Does ignorance really exist? Because according to you, only Brahman exists. If somebody has ignorance, that person has to be that Brahman only. Only Brahman can have ignorance. If you say, no, Brahman cannot have ignorance, but Jiva can have ignorance, then who is that Jiva? Jiva is none other than Brahman. You have declared Jiva Brahmaivana Paraha. Jivatma is only Paramatma, but that Paramatma, due to avidya, due to illusion and due to ignorance, that Paramatma appears as Jivatma. This is your statement. So due to illusion, if Paramatma appears as Jivatma, to whom does it appear that way? If you say Jivatma, you have already said Jivatma is the same as Paramatma. If you say Paramatma, you directly mean Paramatma. Either way, you are implying that Paramatma got ignorance. Therefore, if ignorance is real, if avidya is real, there is a big problem with non-dualism itself. You will end up saying that the Supreme Paramatma has avidya. How can you say Paramatma has avidya? If Paramatma has avidya, that not only goes against, that not only counts as a negative quality, it also breaks your claim of Paramatma not having any guna. It is a big problem. Okay, if avidya is in Jivatma, then because of that avidya only Jivatma sees Paramatma as Jivatma. In that way you will say. You will never be able to prove it. Second, the second type. If avidya is there in Paramatma, it means the great Paramatma himself got avidya. That is a big problem. And then further in Advaita it would be said avidya is sadasad anirvachaniya. It is neither sat nor asat. Sat means something real and consistent forever. Asat means it doesn't even exist. It cannot even be felt. So, all of these will have to be understood. Vishishtadvaita gives a simpler account. It says, bondage is a beginningless karma of real selves in Prakriti under divine guidance. This is important. Beginningless karma of the real slaves, the real selves, the real jivatma in real Prakriti under the governance of the divine being Paramatma. In this way, Chit, Achit, and Ishvara are explained, and further, the need for avidya, why to consider a factor like avidya, that is questioned, and further, how this concept of avidya is not necessarily the simplest, is also discussed. So, we have completed 1 hour. Let us end here. It might have been a little heavy. I don't know how much you are able to follow. But if you have any doubt, any question, please feel free to ask. Go ahead, ask the questions.
Swami, for jivas are like infinite in number, and like if everyone eventually receives salvation, then there will be no jivas left to participate in the Hari Lila. That is my the first question. Like, will there be no jivas left to participate in Hari Lila? That is my first question. And the second question is that regarding the concept of Sharanagati, that for example, if a Sharanagata falls into a very life-threatening danger, then if he prays to Bhagavan to save him, then it might be again asking him for
Wait,
some.
just 1 minute, 1 minute. First, let us go question by question. What was your first question? Repeat just that. Repeat just your first.
Swami,
Huh.
yeah, I mean, Swami, if jivas are infinite in number, and if everyone eventually receives salvation, then there will be no then according to like normal logic, there will be no jivas left to participate in Hari Leela, no Swami. So I mean,
It
so
is very simple. Infinite, no, that is not a number. Infinity is not a real number. If there are infinite jivas, eventually they will get, no, what do you mean eventually? Eventually means quantify. How many years? 1 year, 10 years, 100 million years, 100 zillion years. How much? No matter which number you arrive at, it will be very small when compared to infinity. Infinity is a number that can never be reached. So when you say if there are infinite, eventually they will get covered. No. When that eventually is itself an infinite amount of time. Since there are infinite jivas, it would take infinite time to ensure that infinite jivas have got moksha. Is it understood?
yeah, Swami.
Okay. Now let us go to the second question. What is the second question?
Swami, if a person who has taken Bharanyasam, if he faces a very life-threatening danger, then if he prays to Bhagavanta that, oh Bhagavan, please save me, then it would be again be asking Bhagavanta for something, no Swami. So in that case, how should he approach God? Like,
I don't know whether this is a question about Vishishtadvaita or a question about whatever I have discussed in the lecture. The first one was fair because it was based on my statement that there are infinite jivas, but I have not yet discussed the concept of Sharanagati, the concept of not asking for worldly things. None of those was discussed in today's lecture. Since your doubt is outside of that topic, I would request you to avoid asking questions from outside the topic. But since you have asked, I will answer. See, what to ask from Bhagavan and what not to ask from Bhagavan also Bhagavan has taught us. If you surrender to Bhagavan, and you say, hey Bhagavan, I surrender to you. I need nothing. That is the best. If you say, please give me good things, please give me good things, because you don't have those good things, you are asking him, he can give you. That is not bad. Do you understand? Something that is not the very best need not necessarily be bad. I want to do worship you. Right now, I want to worship you. I want to, let us say, worship you by giving arghya, because the Shastra has said so. But I don't have water. Please give me water. I'm just creating some imaginary scenario. Is it bad to ask that way? No, it is not bad. What are you asking for? That matters, no? I want moksha, but I am scared that I am not a good person. I don't know how to get moksha. Therefore, you please help me. I am taking Bhagavan's help, but there is nothing wrong there. Is it clear?
Yeah, Swami, and sorry for misbehaving.
Not misbehaving. You asked question out of the context. When we are discussing a particular topic, please focus on that topic. Okay. Try to come up with questions in that. You're asking questions is a great thing, well appreciated. But please do focus on what is being taught as well. It shouldn't be that from the very beginning you had specific questions and you're attending the entire lecture with only those questions in mind. It means I am a bad teacher. It means I am not able to make this appealing enough for you to think about. That is also good feedback for me. Thank you.
I think so, Acharya, Jai Sriman Narayan Acharya, this question was probably taken from the calculus book by Modin, where it is high school level questions. People often do not understand infinity. Infinity plus infinity is also infinity. You will never reach infinity, as you have just said.
Yes, it is taught in high school, but unfortunately, because infinity is, again, infinity is not something that we have observed. Just like how I said soon after the lecture began. We understand things that we have observed, or those things that are similar to what we have observed. Infinity is not similar to anything that we have observed, therefore, we find it difficult. Let us see the chat section. You have a doubt related to this topic? Okay, feel free to ask.
Swami, I'm sorry, I didn't mean you were a bad teacher, Swami. Sorry if due to my ignorance you felt that you
Is
were
your
a...
question sorry, or do you have a proper, if you have a question, please ask. If it is to say sorry, then please stay on mute.
I have a question, Swami.
Please ask.
I mean, Swami, you said that like the creation of, I mean, the cycles of, cycles of creation is not eternal, but creation is dated in a very, very, very ancient way that we are not able to track using normal numbers. So if the creation is not eternal, I mean, the cycle of creation is not eternal, but then how can jivas have endless karma, Swami? Like,
Firstly, we never said jivas have endless karma. Karma ends when you get moksha. Secondly, we never said that creation is not finite years old. We never said so. We said it is something that cannot be determined. Since mathematics was discussed, please look up the value of infinity divided by infinity. It will not be a finite number. You cannot say infinity divided by infinity is infinity also. Something special will happen there. Please check. Okay. This is a logical question, and it is answered by mathematics, as Pi Laminar ji correctly pointed out.
Actually, Acharya ji, I have a suggestion. Problem is that probably if you want to answer this question mathematically, it will take around more than 2.5 hours.
I said you go refer mathematics. I am not giving the 2.5 hour answer. Don't worry. This is not a mathematics lecture.
So,
This is a
such,
Vishishtadvaita lecture.
such questions, if you have such a tedious question, people should give at least 1 week so that we can discuss it and make someone who is not good in mathematics also understand the concept.
Definitely, but for that we will have to start a separate parallel, mathematics and logical reasoning lectures as opposed to Vishishtadvaita. Vishishtadvaita is philosophy. But
No, Acharya, yeah, your students are good at very mathematics, high level mathematics, working in great project. You can invite them, yeah, to help you.
sure, if you are able to invite those shishyas of mine, please do.
Acharya, I have a question, but and I tried everything. I tried ChatGPT, I tried Gemini, but I am getting Vasi answer all everywhere related to the Mahabharata. Uh, so
Is this question related to whatever we discussed in this session?
no, Acharya. So I urge you that in next Ramayana class, if you have time, you should.
That is
Uh,
this is Vishishta lecture conducted with the help of the School of Ancient Wisdom. Please stick to the topic.
all right,
One
Acharya.
class, please ask questions only about that class. Okay.
So,
Swami, like I got confused using. I mean, before lectures, like I mean, the reason I said creation is, I mean, is not eternal because once you said that, I asked a question like, if the cycles are of creation and destruction are endless, then why did the shastras use the words like Bhagavan decided to create the universe and all? Then you said that the creation is not eternal, but it is so ancient that we cannot track the timeline using normal numbers. So that's the
See,
reason I got confused.
I will explain that in a better way now. Creation is not eternal because there is something called destruction. Every time creation happens, after that the universe exists for some time. After that, destruction happens. Clear so far?
Yeah, Swami.
So every time there is creation, there is preservation, there is destruction, then there is creation again. It is a cycle of creation. Every time there is creation, Bhagavan decides that I will create. This was discussed in the Vishishtadvaita lectures only when we were discussing about certain statements in the Veda, where we said Vedas explicitly say that Bhagavan decides to create. When he decides to create, that is something that happens in every cycle of creation. Do you understand? If you say he decided to create, did he decide only once to create? In every cycle of creation, he decided to create and therefore he created. No. Do you understand?
Yeah, Swami.
So
So like
the decision has happened eternally. But no creation is eternal because whatever is created is eventually destroyed. This cycle, when did this cycle itself begin? When was the very first creation? If you ask that way, for that I gave you a simple answer. Please go and study about what happens when you divide infinity by infinity. Please take that as homework. Find out what answer you are getting. Find out what it means and then tell me in the next Vishishtadvaita lecture. Okay? Please tell me that answer in the next Vishishtadvaita lecture so that I will be able to explain Vishishtadvaita better by using that. Okay? Please
yeah, Swami.
take this as homework and do it. Because some
So
concepts, no, with few words we cannot explain. It takes time, as Pailaminarji very correctly pointed out. It takes time. I will say it, but for you to grasp it, you will need some homework also. When if we say something is not within the grasp of determinability, it does not imply finiteness or even infiniteness. There is something else going on there.
See, actually, you will need to discuss ring, set, and cardinality and all these things, and it will take around 2.5 hours just to explain it. These things are not a new thing. It is also all deal in several mathematics books by Christians because they use the concept of God to make book attractive and sell more copies. So these concepts are.
I have given him a simple homework. Let him first do that. If you tell him cardinality and everything, he might get scared. I don't know. Let us go one step at a time.
Actually, Acharya, today there are only few people in your group, so I am asking question because my team told me that I should not be asking question here because here we have
See, be
devotees
it
and they
here
might.
or there or anywhere, okay? Be
Hmm,
it here or there or anywhere. Ask, if I am conducting a lecture session, please ask only questions related to the lecture. If it is not a lecture session, you can ask whatever you like. Okay?
yes, sir.
Because lectures are conducted with a purpose to cover a specific topic within that specific timeline. That timeline being 1 hour. Correct?
Yes,
So
Acharya.
in that 1 hour, if I am covering one particular topic,
Hmm,
it shouldn't be that you did not focus on the topic. If you focused on the topic and asked questions related to the topic, excellent. But
hmm.
then the purpose of that lecture is met. So we will end the lecture. If you have questions from some other topic, you will ask it elsewhere.
Yes,
Please
yes,
follow.
Acharya.
Otherwise,
That's
no. Technically, there are infinite possible questions. If I keep thinking, I myself will keep getting questions. If I want to give a lecture, I can also give a lecture continuously for 6 hours, but I try to end it within 1 hour. No. Last time, see, in this lecture, I have finished till the 5th point. In the previous lecture, it has been uploaded to YouTube. You can go and see. I had finished only the first one. One entire hour was taken and only this much was covered. Today, 4 of these were covered. If you want, you can go into any level of depth. As long as it is within the topic and you are going deeper and deeper, it is still okay. When the topic itself is very vast and where questions are asked from other topics, that creates a burden. We are trying to avoid it.
Swami, I have understood what you explained to me related to creation in simple words. In 2 3 lines, can I explain it? Like, I mean, explain it as in, I'll not take much time. I'll just outline what I understood. Is it okay? Or
No, I have given you a homework. If you have understood that you have to do homework, please do homework. Or if you have understood that you are not interested in doing that homework, please let me know. When I am telling you that you will understand this only after doing homework, it means you will understand it only after doing homework. Okay?
okay, Swami, I'm sorry for creating burden for you in your class.
This is not a burden for me. I am not explaining. I am giving you homework. But you are refusing to take the burden. No. Let us end it here. Thank you so much for attending. श्रीवत्संशोधिकोस्तस्य शिवास राघव गुरोस्तरयं ततश्च विद्यावापि भोक्तमतां दधानं प्रवेशदार्दि गुरुं करुणाकराक्षे कवितार्कसुधाय कल्याणं गुणशालिने श्रीमते वेंकटेशाय वेदान्तगुरवे नमः।